Hello, everyone. Rick Cody here, pastor of St. Paul Lutheran Church in Wichita Falls, Texas. Just wanted to share a couple of thoughts with you here today. Have you ever wondered why people are against slavery when really, if you get right down to it, we desire to be slaves to God somehow, some way? Maybe not in the way that you're traditionally thinking about slavery, but I think sometimes we look at slavery and the service that we render to God as something that we are compelled to do because we have to do it, or in some way we think that it merits a special relationship with God when it really doesn't. I think there are too many people today out in American Christianity that want people to believe that salvation is a Jesus plus thing, and it's not really a Jesus plus thing. It's Jesus only. And he's the one that's solely and exclusively responsible for our salvation. But we want to be indebted to him somehow, some way, and so therefore we think that we have to do a certain amount of deeds, or we've got to do a certain amount of something in order to be right with God. And it really leaves us with two different feelings that we can be left with. Either one where we're very proud, we have a lot of pride, or the other one would be that we're going to despair because no amount of good works can possibly appease the wrath of God, nor is it going to make you feel any different toward God. If anything, it's going to make you probably want to go away from him because you can't live up to his righteousness. And it's not about living up to his righteousness. That's not what this is about. And this coming weekend, as a matter of fact, we're looking at the text from the text from Luke chapter 15, and we're looking at the prodigal son parable. And really, that was kind of the same thing going on in the younger son's life whenever he finally came to his senses, and we'll get to that in just a minute. But this father has two sons. The younger son wants his inheritance. So basically what he's saying to his dad is, I wish you were dead, Father. Give me my inheritance so I can go and do what I want with it. And so his father doesn't even hesitate. The father just gives his son the inheritance, and he goes off to a foreign land, the scriptures say, and he squanders that. And he does it with prostitutes and other wild living and whatnot. And so he gets there, and he gets hungry, and hunger can make us do a lot of things. But in his mind, he's sitting there as he's feeding the pigs and looking at the pods that they're eating and wishing to eat those. He's sitting there thinking to himself, my father's hired men, my father's slaves, if you will, have it better than I do. So why don't I just go back to him, not expecting to be a son anymore, because I know that I've blown that, and just ask if I can be one of his hired men, and perhaps he'll just accept me, and therefore I'll have the food that I want to eat. And so that's what he does. He goes and he starts walking back toward his father's house, to his homeland. And the father is sitting there, and he's looking over the horizon every day, waiting for the son to come home. And finally, one day, his father's looking out over the horizon, and he sees his son coming, his younger son, the one who went and basically said, Dad, I wish you were dead. But he sees his son coming, and he goes running toward the horizon. He goes running toward the sun. And whenever he gets there, he just throws his arms around the son, and he begins to kiss him all over his face. And he yells out to the servants, go get a robe and put it on his back, get a ring and put it on his finger, get sandals and everything that he needs, and kill this fatted calf, and we're going to have a feast, for this son of mine who was lost has now been found. But in the midst of all this, the son begins to say, Father, wait a minute, I don't deserve to be treated as one of your hired men, or a son, just treat me as one of your hired men. And the father just stops him right in the middle of that, because the father has none of that. He doesn't want any of that. He just simply wants his son to be a son. He does not desire a slave. And so he treats the son as a son should be treated. Well, then the story goes on. The father also has an older son, and the older son comes in from the field or whatever he was doing. He hears the celebration that's going on, and he asks one of the other servants, "What's going on? Why all the noise? What's this party that I hear of?" And then the servant was like, "Well, your brother who went away and who was lost has now been found." And so this just angers the older brother to no end. And so another interesting part of the story is that the older son does not come to the father, but rather the father, the scriptures say, goes out to him. So again, another son who's having an issue with the father then forgets about the fact that he's mad at him, and he goes out and he pursues the older son. So he goes out and he does this, and his father asks him what the deal was. Why are you all upset? And the older brother's like, "Well, Father, I've done everything that you've asked my entire life. I've never done anything. I've never been disobedient. I've served you well. And I never went out and squandered all of the inheritance. I never even asked you for that with prostitutes or anything else." And so basically what he's telling the father is that I've been an obedient slave to you my whole life, and you've never even given me even just a young calf to kill and to party with my friends or do anything like that. But the father also will have none of that as well. He doesn't care about the older son's obedience. He just wants his son. And so he says, "Everything that I have is yours." And he begins to tell him that it's not about your service that you're rendering. It's not about that. It's simply the fact that I want him, my youngest son, and you, my oldest son, to be just that. I want you to be my sons. I don't desire slaves. That's not what I want. So now let's take that idea into where we are today. God doesn't care about our works. Yes, we do that as Christians because that's what we do. That's what Christians do every day, is we bear fruit because we are fruit-bearing Christians, and faith causes good works. It is a natural result of our faith. And so we don't have to sit there and keep a tally of it. We don't have to sit there and think, okay, am I doing enough good works? Am I doing enough to be in a good relationship with God? Is he happy with me? It's just something that we do. God has prepared our works in advance for us to do. And all God wants from us is to be sons and daughters. He does not desire slaves. He even says that, when we go to Psalm 51, sacrifices I don't desire. He says, "A broken and contrite heart, oh God, you will not despise." Those are the things that he wants. He wants our heart. And so we just be his sons and daughters. It's as simple as that. So stop making a big deal out of all of your work. Stop worrying about whether or not you've done enough to please God or to merit a right relationship with him. It's just simply about grace. Let's just be sons and daughters and let God love us the way that he wants to love us and desires to have that kind of relationship with us. And in the end, you'll be surprised at how much joy you'll have knowing that it's not about you, it's all about him, and it's all about the grace that he's given us. I just hope that you have enjoyed these last few minutes and that you might have learned something interesting about the story of the prodigal son. It's not about slavery. It's just about being sons and daughters. The Lord be with you, and we'll catch up with you later.